Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Capricorn energy. And we're going to get out the cards, do this 10-card spread, and then we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because people are at different emotional maturity levels in their own Capricorn energy. We all tap into Capricorn energy, so maybe all the people who are Capricorn sun signs and moon and rising could be more mature than some other people for all I know, but I think anybody can, it's kind of like, what did we put work and effort into growing and healing and maturing about ourselves? And in tarot, we have the 4 elements: the heart, the mind, the 3D world, which is earth sign, which is Capricorn, or our more creative, passionate nature. And Capricorn in high vibe is about freeing yourself from things that manipulate you. And high vibe would be being free to live your more authentic life because you have grown and matured yourself to free yourself from your more immature nature. Shadowy Capricorn and all shadowy zodiac signs can talk about our more immature egoic nature. We could be stubborn, prideful, lazy, self-indulgent, competitive, prideful, manipulative, shadowy. And that is the devil, kind of represents our more base nature. And high vibe Capricorn is putting in work and effort to free yourself from that. And I view high vibe Capricorn as like the King of Pentacles, male or female. You are who you say you are at any stage of your life of emotional maturity level. You're more stable, more grounded. You'd just be someone who's more authentic and has learned lessons, when all these different stages of life we went through. We were 18, we were 21, we were 25. Some people hadn't put much work and effort into freeing themselves from things that manipulated them, and other people did. And so the people who were more mature, more tempered in their ego, more self-disciplined, and had learned some of these lessons along the way would be considered to harness high vibe Capricorn energy. So what's going on in Capricorn energy? I view this as the overarching reason for the reading, and it's the Ace of Cups, which can represent all 3 of the water signs, and the earth signs are on opposite sides of the zodiac wheel from the water signs. So hopefully, we all grow up in the world and we can be really caught up in the world and manipulated by these things of the world. And we have our base human nature. But hopefully, as we go through life, we learn to also be more balanced and could have been from a young age. Also motivated and inspired by love. The 3 water signs are Cancer and Pisces and Scorpio, and Cancer is on the opposite zodiac sign of the wheel, of the astrology wheel, from Capricorn. So high vibe energy is about being balanced, and so if we're more tipped into being about ourselves, more about the world, kind of indulging ourselves in poor behavior, we could have people in our life that throughout our life were offering us love to hopefully encourage us to love ourselves and get more balance, that we're not just more about ourselves, and that to hopefully be inspired. At the end of the reading, we have the Ace of Wands, which can represent all 3 of the fire signs of Aries and Leo and Sagittarius, to love and believe in ourselves and to be inspired to offset our more worldly nature with our more loving nature so that we continue to heal and grow and mature ourselves basically throughout our life. Some people did, some people didn't. At the heart of the reading is a card not showing itself, and it's the High Priestess, which is Pisces and Cancer, 2 of the water sign energies, which can be about what we love and what we can find emotionally fulfilling. And there's some people that are just still more caught up in themselves or things of the world. It can be how they, Capricorn can be about what we view as being victorious and successful. And some people, and again, for the first 30 to 50 years of our life, we can be pretty caught up in the world. There's a lot of things we want to go indulge in, the younger we are, and a lot of things we want to manifest, our career, maybe being in relationships, friendships, maybe having children. As we go through life, hopefully we become not as caught up in those things of the world probably because we invested in some of those things. And then hopefully in our fire sign nature, we kind of get more inspired to be more authentically ourselves, get more balance within ourselves, because we can make these things of the world that we want to manifest such a priority in our life. It kind of can keep our life out of balance. And at the end of the story, we have the Page of Swords, the Five of Cups, and the Death card. So the Page of Swords in all three of the air signs of Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. There can come that time in our life, though a person could be a loving person and they can do a lot to try to maintain balance within their life. Just as we get older, some of those things that we used to make really important in our life and that we wanted to manifest, we maybe did, and we indulged in those things. And some people could realize that they did make some of those things too important in their life, and maybe in the Five of Cups, kind of having some regrets that, again, could we have been in a career field that made us a lot of money and we had status and image, but did we spend our life in a career that we didn't even enjoy? The Five of Cups can talk about that we're kind of sad that maybe we let some things emotionally manipulate us to such a degree that we weren't more inspired to get in career fields, invest our time, energy, and effort into friendships and people that really we loved, or that really were maybe more authentic and loving, because this is the third water sign, Scorpio. Here we had Cancer and Pisces, and this is Scorpio. And shadowy Scorpio can be, that we were so caught up in mentally in the air sign about these things of the world that we wanted, and that maybe that took more precedent in our life, and later we can kind of feel like we maybe missed out on having maybe more loving relationships in our life, or more deep, meaningful relationships in our life. And again, we all have lessons to learn, and we can, again, all want some of these things of the world that we want to manifest, and then not everything that we manifest also works out the way that we want. And then we end the story with the Scorpio Death card, which is at whatever phase of life we could be at, just like kind of towards as we get older in life or at the end of our life, are we willing to see the truth about some things that we don't find emotionally fulfilling in our life? Again, if that's the job that we're in, the place where we live, what we're surrounded by in our life, our own habits and vices and attitudes, other people that we're in friendship and relationship with, are we willing? The Death card talks about having gone through a cycle and being inspired maybe out of love for ourselves and our dreams, and to realize that I kind of need to detach in the Death card emotionally from some ways of living life or viewing life or people in my life that don't inspire me to keep moving forward. That could keep me repeating a pattern, because we'll all keep repeating an old pattern because it kind of keeps us in our comfort zone, and it can be scary to step out of our comfort zone because that's kind of like unknown territory. So we have to be inspired within ourselves. And the fire sign energies of Aries and Leo and Sagittarius can be, I am willing to take that leap of faith, to be more bold and brave and confident, to temper my fears and my insecurities. Life is about going on this journey of learning these lessons, and there could be some things I've invested in or made my life about that either I'm not enjoying them as much as I once did, and that's also kind of connecting in with our emotions and our intuition that's telling us it's time to move on. We go through these phases of life to learn these certain lessons in life. And then when we kind of learn the lesson we were meant to learn, what could keep us staying at that phase of life and living our life that way can just be more of our fear of moving forward in life a little differently. And if we offer love to those fears, and the high priestess can talk about kind of offering yourself that cup of love, listening to your intuition, to guide you instead of more in your worldly nature, maybe your fears or your insecurities or self-limiting beliefs, and to, I want to go live my more authentic life. And if there's things that don't seem to be aligned with that truth anymore, I'm going to speak my truth to people in my life that, I could not be happy. And there's some things in the death card that I would like to change. And I'd like to move forward differently. Do you want to come with? And if people want to come with, they come with. And it kind of is, the Scorpio death card can be where I've kind of reconciled myself emotionally, probably because some people did this work within themselves to kind of make peace with the past and accept that everybody has their own dreams, aspirations, what they like to invest their time, energy, and effort into, and all those kind of things. And sometimes there aren't people kind of on the same page. But I don't want to keep doing that. So I am going to be inspired within myself to go invest in my truth of what I view as emotionally fulfilling and my definition of being victorious and successful. And it could be less about the ego or the image or conforming to the world or appeasing other people. So we start out with the Eight of Pentacles, the Ten of Cups, and the Lovers. So the Eight of Pentacles is Virgo energy. And again, for all of us, you can be just, fair, loving people, have hope and faith and belief and love. But for those first 30 to 50 years, we're pretty caught up kind of in Virgo, another earth sign, that we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into some of these things we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into that we think in the Ten of Cups will long term make us happy. We want to probably be in friendships and relationships with people that we'd like to probably be in friendship and relationship with all of our life. And we could have our own family that we can enjoy. We can have people we grew up with, and we can put a lot of work and effort into those things with the Lover's card because we love them. And we could want earth sign energy, and Virgo and Capricorn can talk about, we want stability and security in our life because that helps. It's kind of part of the dream. It's part of our long-term goal of things that make up what we think will make us happy. And we'd like to be in relationships with people who love us, right? But some people could harness those in a more shadowy way. Everybody can want to be in a relationship and have people love them, but some people do harness this energy in a more shadowy way. They want those things just like everybody else, but they might be someone who more loves secretly in a more shadowy energy, maybe a little bit more about themselves. So their truth could be that they are just kind of more about themselves. could be a little full of themselves, could be a little self-centered, egotistical, narcissistic, immature, codependent. And they can want to be in relationships with people who are more loving. And the Lover's card is Gemini energy, which is about our dualistic nature. And some people in their dualistic nature of free will, they love, and their truth is they could be a little bit more than some other people, a little bit more about wanting to be in friendships and relationships too, but it could be more for these worldly reasons. Like, I want, that can be pride and ego. I want to be in friendships and relationships and be successful in my life, but it's just more being self-interest of how it benefits them. And, they could be people that we feel really haven't been enlightened to the truth yet. That it's about love, and if you're going to be in a romantic relationship, it should be because of love, and love is to be just and fair. And for some people, that's not their truth. I want to be in a relationship and I want people to love me, but I'm more tipped in favor of kind of it being more about me and these things of the world. And that's, they can get in a friendship or relationship or job, but they still kind of want it, just have a different concept kind of what they think is just and fair. And could kind of think, if I act like love and quack like love, and I show up to work every day and I put in some work and effort, people should, it's kind of someone who wants to be indulged a little bit, being a little shadowy, a little immature, a little bit more about themselves, Maybe in the Five of Cups, it can talk about in their Scorpio nature, they might not want to do more deep, meaningful relationships, because in order to do more deep, meaningful relationships, you'd have to be more connected in with yourself just emotionally, and that's what Scorpio talks about in High Vibe. We're emotionally complex human beings is what Scorpio talks about. We can have all these conflicting thoughts and feelings about people. And some people at some point in their life could have just decided, I don't want to deal with that. That's just too confusing. And so they can decide to align with their more worldly nature. They still want to be in friendship or relationship, but emotions are confusing. And so people can choose not to invest in themselves emotionally. They kind of, in shadow, kind of the high priestess can be, and the feminine figures can talk about how we think and feel, that emotionally they kind of aren't really connected in with their emotions. They kind of use their emotions more manipulatively. They could use things of the world, or their looks, or their charm, or their money, or sexuality, to try to get people to get in a relationship with them and stay in a relationship with them. And they want to kind of hide from the truth that it really should be more about love. But if they don't want to do love in their free will nature, that's a free will decision they made. I get hurt doing love. And maybe the reason they did that is because maybe they grew up with some people that maybe were more emotionally shallow and superficial, were more about getting in relationships, more for these things of the world. Those people had their own life. They had to make their own decisions. And then that can kind of be our comfort zone. Some people grew up in families where people were much more kind of superficial and shallow and all about the ego and the image and the status. And for people, that can be their comfort zone. And so then if they were to be in relationships with people who that's not their truth in the death card, no, that's not my truth. I'm more inspired by love. I have that more hopeful, believing spirit. I have put in work and effort to love myself and work through my fears and insecurities. And I've done some of this inner work. That's also what Virgo energy can talk about. And I could have grown up with whatever kind of family I grew up with, and I could have went through my own share of life experiences that were disappointing, but I have a dream. And just because other people have their free will to act however they act and be driven and motivated by however they choose to act or treat people. They have their own free will, and I'm not going to let them stop me from believing in myself and believing my dreams. And I kind of put in that work and effort to love myself, because high vibe energy is kind of learning to kind of be your own best mother, father, coach voice to yourself. Because otherwise, the 10 of cups can talk about the happy family. Well, we're not children forever, and if we kind of stay in much more codependent energy, it can be going out in the world to find people to love us, to kind of play that role in our life, because we haven't learned to play that role in our own life. And, if we're in that more codependent energy, there's going to be other people who can be in that codependent energy, or people who are just happy you're in it, and they would love to be in a relationship with you. Oh, you haven't really learned to love yourself? You haven't worked through some regrets in the past? Perfect. I'll get in a relationship with you. You want to get married? And we'll stay in a relationship maybe because neither one of us have learned how to love ourselves. Or I like you not loving yourself, and then you'll stay in a relationship with me. Or, if we don't love ourselves, we can go look to all these things in the world to try to make us feel better. The 10 of Cups is Pisces energy, and that can be kind of all these things. And the High Priestess, part Pisces, I look to all these other things in the world. I'm caught up in the illusion of these things that I think they are the answer to making me happy. I'm going to drink this, eat this, pop this, do that, make my life about this and that, and I'm sure I'll be happy. And we kind of weren't seeing the truth. If you were to lay out these cards differently, we're looking to the world to love us, or those things that we invest in to make us happy, but we're kind of turning our back on loving ourselves. And until we might go through some experiences in our life to try to help us to see the truth of it, and we might go through some experiences kind of to where we're kind of forced to maybe do this work within ourselves, because otherwise we're going to keep repeating an old pattern. And eventually, that can be what causes people to do this work within themselves. And when they do, and they offer love to themselves and temper their fears and their insecurities and look at life from a higher perspective and keep things in perspective instead of getting up in their head maybe more and looking to other things or other people to be the answer, they close out a cycle in their life. Again, is what the Death card can talk about. And they're ready to move forward differently. It's like they learned the lesson they were meant to learn from that stage of life. So we can get, at any point in time, we're dealing with other people in the world. And with these 3 cards not showing themselves, sometimes we don't realize that some of the people that we're trying to get to know, or in our family, in our friendship group, at our workplace, that we can harness these energies differently. And part of that can be because we have our way. Virgo can talk about what our truth is. That's our truth. That's how we live our life. The swords of the Page of Swords, and Libra and Aquarius and Gemini. And this is Gemini. We have this way of viewing life and living life, and we, of course, think it's just and fair, and we think, hey, that seems like a great idea. And, we've come to that conclusion and think it's just and fair, or we wouldn't live our life that way. So it makes, practical, logical sense to us, right? So then we can think other people, of course, think that way. Right? Isn't that what everybody wants to do? Doesn't everybody think that is what would make them happy? Isn't that what everybody wants to kind of invest their time, energy, and effort into? But again, sometimes people who are much more shadowy, they love themselves, and they can understand why other people, they indulge themselves, and they think other people should indulge them, and they can't maybe understand why other people don't think they're amazing and wonderful and want to be in a relationship with them. For other people, it's not that extreme, and we can just get in relationships with some people where they're just kind of more about more the ego or the image of it, and not really love, kind of indulging themselves in relationships. Doesn't everybody want to be in a relationship and friendships? And everybody can have their own ideas of what they think is just and fair of how to treat people. And, so we kind of sift out people in our life. And some people we don't even maybe really approach or get to know because we kind of could think, yeah, I don't think we're on the same page. But hey, you do you. And can you know them and socialize with them and get along well enough? But you can sometimes just see what some people like to invest in and enjoy. It's like, yeah, that's not my cup of tea, right? But then there can be other people that we could think more are on the same page as us, and it can be trying to get to know them, and we might not know we harness these energies differently. Here we have the Four of Wands, the High Priestess, and the King of Swords. Well, the Four of Wands in Aries energy, Aries is about the self. Some people might be more about themselves again and hiding that truth. Some people might have made that decision within themselves that they want to hide from the truth, that it should be about love. And they think if they act a certain way, present themselves a certain way, have intimacy maybe in the fire sign energy with people, that should all work out. It looks like love, it quacks like love. Isn't that good? And for some people, that is how they want to live their life. That's what they think is just and fair. But they can get in relationships with other people who are kind of more inspired within themselves to be connected in with their more emotionally intuitive, loving nature. And in high vibe, the King of Swords and Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice, that they really are more balanced within themselves. So they have their more worldly nature, but they also still have their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And they are inspired to kind of do this work within themselves, to love themselves. And when there's things that kind of they could feel is like unjust or unfair or unloving or unkind or whatever, and work through some of their own fears and insecurities. And the King of Swords, I view that as it can be like someone's self-protected defensive nature. Even why am I defensive? To kind of more loving and believing in myself. Why do I let some of these issues from my past keep manipulating me? Why do I get caught up in maybe letting other people seem to have so much influence or power in my life, in a sense, like if they like me or they don't like me or want to work with me cooperatively or not? And those people could work through it in order to get more clear about their truth. And again, kind of wrapping their brain around this game of life, that everybody has their truth. Everybody has their mix of things they like to do and things that they would find would make them happy that can be different than the mix. Lately, I've been kind of comparing it to making cookies. Some people want a sprinkle of this, some people want a cup of that, other people want 2 cups of this, and other people could be exactly the opposite. Ooh, could they be all loving people? Yeah. But do you like to go fishing every weekend, 3 times a year? Do you like to go bowling once a year or every week? Do you want to go ride bike? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you like going to the movies? Do you, it's just all those things that as individuals are different. Sometimes we can be in friendships and relationships with people, and whether it's our adult child, brother, sister, mom, dad, long-term friends, romantic interests, that we really could like them and have love for them. But if we could feel that within themselves emotionally, that is kind of their truth, and that makes them maybe feel stable and grounded, and they would be happy living their life like that forever, whatever way that is. But maybe even over time, you know, uh, again, some people, it's like, well, I don't want to keep doing the same thing over time. I can have love for people, but can we all keep growing and maturing ourselves over time where we kind of keep being curious in the fire sign energy? Because otherwise it can kind of feel like it's a little dead and stagnant in the death card, that we never do anything new. It's the same thing over and over. And of course, we don't want to blame just other people. In the pages, it can be communicating with the people in our life. Um, you know, Trying to maybe inspire the people that we're in friendship and relationship with to see if they want to move forward a little differently. Can we do things a little differently? And the other people could be kind of more defensive to that. And again, they could be happy, their truth, how they like to live their life. They don't care if nothing changes. They could be really happy with it. And other people could be like, I feel like the death card can be like, I don't feel like we ever give birth to anything new here. It's like dead, stagnant energy. And I am kind of more inspired within myself to, if it's to find new creative endeavors or new hobbies, or let's just go try something new. Must we do that all the time? you know, and sometimes we'd have to detach from a friendship group and kind of go out on our own, because if there's other things we want to go do and we don't find those things as enjoyable, because basically that can be what happens, being 21, but we didn't want to stay 21 forever. I kind of wanted to move forward in my life. Didn't you have a dream of kind of working through some of your fears or insecurities or self-limiting beliefs and kind of being bold and brave to put yourself out there and just go try different things? And some people are like, no. It's like, well, okay. Well, high vibe energy is about accepting the truth. I speak my truth in love to try to encourage people with my truth. If that's their truth, it's their truth. If it's not their truth, I wish them peace, but and though I could be sad, I don't want to keep repeating that pattern. Your truth could not be my truth. What you love, what you find emotionally fulfilling, is not my truth. And we could feel like some people are more codependent. They could be more codependent on the world, making their life more about their ego and image, and that really manipulates them in a sense. Or their original family, or their friend group, or their hometown, or something, that they never want to maybe ever step out of their comfort zone to maybe you harness fire sign energy can just be more inspired to look at life as an adventure to be lived. There's so many things to learn, and that's why it could be that you could just be a much more curious person and just find things, and mentally kind of like wanting more stimulation, and so you could find those things, that anything new, it's just like, and you could listen to your intuition, and all of a sudden you could kind of get kind of caught up in some stuff that you find really interesting or intriguing, or something you really want to learn about, regardless of what that could be. If it's anything that, if it's flowers or mechanics or whatever, you could really get into it. And other people, maybe they just lack that curiosity. And so it's just kind of accepting that we're different, And sometimes people can work through that they kind of make peace with it. And that's kind of how I view high vibe Scorpio, and offering the cup of love to the Five of Cups gets us to the Six of Cups. And Six of Cups also is Scorpio energy, where we kind of make peace with the past, and we make peace with the people are investing their time and energy and effort into the things that are aligned with their truth. And if that makes them happy, if that makes them feel safe and secure, if they are shadowy and they want to be in relationships with people who will more indulge them in poor behavior, and if they've got people who are willing to indulge them in poor behavior, you could wish that they would get more balanced or grow up and mature themselves, but we can't make other people grow up and mature themselves. We can't make people get more balanced. We can't make people love themselves. We can't, you know, everybody's kind of got to go on this journey. And if they ever get inspired within themselves, maybe one day they would communicate with people. But I would just say the people you know in your life who are more about the world would rather offer people things of the world than love, don't want to do love, could be someone who gets caught up in their head about love, people you know who are kind of immature and codependent or self-indulgent, people who do some immature things, but shadowy energy can be where people don't want to see the truth of it. So they kind of indulge themselves in their more immature ways of being, or bossy ways of being, or stubborn ways of being, or materialistic view of being, and could be kind of full of themselves and could think people should indulge them in a relationship for whatever reason they think that. Um, Other people, high vibe people, aren't willing to stay. They can stay in it for quite a long time, and some people might be at that phase. Other people have gotten out of it, and the people who already made that decision, I have offered truth and love to people. They didn't seem to either want to be just and fair or bring justice to the situation, or they are more codependent, or they are more caught up in these other things. I accept the truth of it. I offer love to the situation and myself to work through that. And then I emotionally am able to detach from it. And I can go have this new beginning. And the people in my life who do work together with me, where I feel like we're more on the same page, then we move forward together. And the people who aren't investing to work together with me in that way, then I accept the truth of that. Sometimes we can stay stuck kind of waiting for other people, maybe hoping they'll change or something, because the fives can talk about change. But the people in your life who you know are more immature, more stubborn, more prideful, more want to be more about themselves, their way or the highway, immature, self-indulgent, odds are they got a lot of lessons to learn in life. They will not be changing dramatically anytime soon, because if you think back on yourself and any lessons you had to learn, to break a habit, break a vice, break a way of viewing life differently, having a more hopeful, believing spirit, learning to love yourself. Some people may never get there. And some people will always stay more codependent on other people in their life or the world or their defensive nature, liking to live more from their mind than their heart. So some people have already gotten out of some workplaces or friendships or relationships with people that they felt in their Aries and Libra, which is kind of interesting because Aries and Libra are in opposite signs of the zodiac wheel from each other. And we could feel like they're not still, you know, battling within themselves about some of those things, or like to harness those energies in a more shadowy way, which can be whether they're male or female. They're just kind of a little bit more about themselves and a little more defensive and emotionally detached, or unwilling to get out of their defensive or egoic nature. So we wish them peace and we move on. What's going on for people who harness some high vibe Capricorn energy? They could be investing in some people, friends, family, romantic interests, people who they think are more on the same page as them, have cut out some people in their life that, are in relationships with other people, investing their time, energy, and effort into things that aren't aligned with your truth, and loving yourself to let go of the regrets of the past and have a new beginning. What's coming up? The Three of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Eight of Cups. So Scorpio energy is represented by the 5, the 6, and the 7. And it's kind of in our Pisces nature. When we get inspired within ourselves to love and believe in ourselves, work through our past pain and heartbreak and self-limiting beliefs to get more balance within ourselves, and to be like a good mother, father, coach voice to ourselves, to keep things in perspective, look at life from a higher perspective, have hope and faith and belief in our dreams. It's all this process of being able to detach from things in the past, and in high vibe, all of that work and effort of doing, and it could have been all this inner work within yourself to align with learning to love yourself and give yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you. And as you go through that process within yourself, eventually you kind of see that you have freed yourself, because shadowy Capricorn's the devil, and you have the Three of Pentacles. You freed yourself from things in your past that you could have been sad about or grieving. And it could even be people in your life who aren't in your life or in your life anymore, passed away, or they changed over time, and things didn't work out the way you wanted. And by doing that work within yourself, you get to have this new beginning with the Ace of Cups, the Ace of Wands, and the Page of Swords. And you just could realize that other people in their Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini nature of free will, their truth is different. What drives them, motivates them is different. Their idea of the dream life is different. And you accept the truth of it. And that sets you free, because the truth sets you free. So you're moving forward being more independent of the past, independent of some people, speaking your truth in love, not in an aggressive way, but this is my truth. And I feel like some of the people in my life maybe didn't work together with me that cooperatively, or were trying to use the love that I had for them to manipulate me, or they were bossy or controlling, or they're more immature or emotionally shallow and superficial. And I don't want to keep investing more in those kind of relationships. And I'm going to go invest my time, energy, and effort into people who aren't more caught up in repeating some pattern of a way of interacting that I don't enjoy. Maybe, we all could have been more codependent, or they were our family members, or we were their child or something. And it's not our truth. And we could have had a hard time becoming more independent of those people. And we would have liked us all to move together. But to move together, everybody has to respect everybody. as their own individual, and they have to work together with them in a more just and fair and balanced and loving way. And if we know some people in our life who aren't willing to do that, and then it's kind of like, well, I wish you peace and I hope that works out for you. But I'm not going to keep investing in it. I'm moving forward in my truth. And I think as you do that, other people could know that you could go repeat some old patterns. You could do things to try to make yourself feel better that are kind of shadowy. But if you've already been there and done that and learned those lessons, no, I'm going to take action that is aligned with where I want to go and my truth. Because it's kind of like the devil lies. There's a lot of things we could go indulge in, but the devil is kind of like short-term gratification. And the devil lies. It probably won't work out. We're investing in something that's dead. It doesn't have life-giving energy to it. It's repeating an old pattern. So it's like I'm going to keep offering myself love, keep believing in myself, keep moving forward, keep being inspired to not repeat old patterns. And other people in your life and people you could meet as you move forward could move forward with you in that way. You can be going through this, but other people in the world are going through this. And when we quit investing more of our time, energy, and effort into the people who basically shown us that's not my truth, it frees us up to kind of go on this journey of closing out cycles, because the Ten of Cups can talk about closing out a cycle. The Death card can talk about closing out a cycle. The Ace of Cups, the Page of Swords, and the Ace of Wands can be starting a new cycle. Closing out cycles, and, again, we kind of learn the lesson we were meant to learn there, and we're free to go forward in life differently, ready to learn more lessons. And some other people didn't learn the lesson they were meant to learn, and so they're going to repeat an old pattern. And while you're moving forward, there's other people in the world who have moved ahead of you, who have been waiting for people like you to move forward in the world. And as you're moving forward, you'll be looking for other people to move forward in the world, to learn some of those same lessons, right? I think you're going to be emotionally fulfilled that you freed yourself from something that wasn't aligned with your truth. What's coming up for the people who harness the more shadowy Capricorn energy that they might not see coming? A card not showing itself. And the reason is because of the Page of Pentacles. So the Page of Pentacles can be all three of the earth signs, Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus. And again, with some of these people, emotionally, we harness our water signs differently. With other people in our air sign energy, we're kind of on completely different pages. In our fire sign energy, we can be on completely different pages. And in our earth sign energy, with some people, we're on different pages. In high vibe, the Page of Pentacles is willing to be a student of life. In order to learn lessons in life, you have to get out of your ego. And some people can be very stubborn, prideful. I don't have any lessons to learn. I don't have to change. It's all the other people in the world who have to change. I shouldn't have to compromise. Well, if you're going to work together cooperatively with other people, it's like they have their dreams and motivations and aspirations. You have yours. Together, you're supposed to work together for that common goal. And everybody's supposed to be willing to compromise. And some people kind of go into relationships, and the Eight of Cups can be walking away from people who they think have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. They create the illusion, they're willing to compromise, but they're hiding that is kind of going to be more their way. I'll create the illusion we're going to bring that dream into reality. I'll create the illusion I'm going to become more independent. I'll create the illusion I'll work through these issues of my past that kind of manipulate me or temper my ego or my fear or being more caught up in myself. But it's just an illusion. But people can stay in those friendships or those relationships for a long time because they have a hard time wanting to accept the truth and distancing themselves emotionally from those people. But eventually people do. And that's what the shadowy people don't get. Other people are willing to like humble themselves and be a student of life and aren't maybe so rigid or stubborn that, no, we got to keep doing life this way. You know? Well, again, some people could live their life kind of like they're a 21-year-old all their life. Other people don't want to live their life like a 21-year-old all their life. And other people just kind of get inspired to do things differently, and other people never do. And other people aren't willing to give up their own dreams, and other people are, in order to make their life more about other people or conforming to the world or never being more independent. And they could always be surprised that other people do this work to love themselves. Because some of these people, they harness the shadowy Page of Pentacles. So again, they could just be more immature, more codependent, wanting to be in a relationship with other people who are more immature and codependent, want to make their life about whatever they make their life about, and never be inspired within themselves to love themselves and to work through regrets of their past, to never change, because some of these people never do it, so they never change, because they never are willing to deal with the truth. And they probably don't want to see how they could be more immature, more codependent, more superficial, more shallow, more intimidating, more controlling, more just about themselves, a little rigid. And they maybe can't even understand how, again, another way about viewing shadowy energy is like, I have to work with these things of the world. And they kind of turn their back on their more emotionally creative, inspired, intuitive nature. Within themselves, they could reject connecting in with themselves emotionally and getting more balanced within themselves. So it's always, no, I've got to do things this way, and I got to be maybe practical and logical. And their intuition, their more hopeful, believing, loving nature is sad for some of these people, because they're so caught up in whatever they make their life about, or their ego, that nothing is going to change in their life. You know, it's kind of like we have the knowledge of the tree of good and evil within us, and all the seeds have been planted of all the different potentials of how we could live our life. But we have to be willing to shed an old version of ourselves, shed a version of our more worldly, egoic nature, to give birth to that next version of ourselves, to love ourselves enough, to keep facing our fears, to keep moving forward, becoming independent of like an old version of our life. And some people, they're like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to stay in my comfort zone. And again, but the bad thing is sometimes they get in relationships with people and they're not truthful. High vibe energy is you are being truthful and authentic. And other people just try to create an illusion. Oh no, I'm on the same page as you. But they hide that, yeah, I'm not going to do it that way. This isn't going to be, I'm never going to become more independent of maybe just being more about me or whoever and whatever I'm codependent on. And I'm not going to work with you more cooperatively. I'm hoping to get you to move forward in a friendship or relationship with me, or take this job. And then as time goes by, when you're sad and you kind of realize that, you know, you're trying to move it forward and they're not, that then they hope that because you don't love and believe in yourself enough, that they kind of have trapped you in something and that you'll stay there. And they're very codependent. And they're surprised when other people are willing to venture out on their own. And they don't understand it. And it's because the more high vibrational people in their life work through how they harness these energies in a more worldly, shadowy way. And they get inspired within themselves to love and believe in themselves, to get more balance within themselves, because they realize it's kind of an imbalanced relationship. If we're not working together cooperatively and we're not more independent of things from our past that manipulate us, we haven't freed ourselves from it yet. What is it? The Knight of Cups. Well, that's Pisces energy again. Some people have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. And they are kind of immature. And kind of want to just indulge themselves in a relationship. But it could be this idea that I don't have to change. And I don't want anything to change. It's, again, like, I have this idea of what would make me happy. And it's kind of more, I want it that way. They just need to go find someone else, I guess, who agrees, because some of the people that have been in their life, that's not their truth. But some people can keep staying in denial of the truth, and they can repeat the pattern with other people, but they don't want to see the truth, that they're a little bit more about themselves, and they like living more from their mind than their heart, and they have these ways of interacting with people in a relationship that can be kind of immature and isn't working cooperatively with people from love. And they really could like to be in relationships with other people who are more immature and sad, who don't love and believe in themselves and don't want to work through their past pain and heartbreak and self-limiting beliefs because they don't. And eventually that is probably who they'll be surrounded by. Other people who are kind of more immature and codependent also. And then it's more to be in a relationship, maybe because we're sad and we want to feel better and we want to be in a relationship. But it might not be love, might not be based on truth, because in High Vibe, the Pentacles about truth and love. No, people who are more stable, grounded, and mature, who did this work within themselves, those people are moving on with other people who learned some of those lessons. And we never learn those lessons. And some people are looking for people to replace their parents in a relationship. Like, well, my parents used to indulge me and I used to be able to be immature and hurtful and unkind and bossy or controlling. I'm looking for someone like that. I don't want to have to grow up. I don't want to have to learn to love myself. I don't think I should have to. I'm looking to get in a relationship for someone to love me. But then it is just more about them. And for some of them, that's their truth. Because they really are just more about themselves. So there you go, Capricorn. I wish you peace, love, and joy. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.